Hi everyone. This week we have watched and are now going to be thinking about Waltz with Bashir. I hope that everyone found this movie interesting, even if, at least in my opinion, it is one of the most depressing and upsetting movies out there. And part of the reason why it's so upsetting for me, and I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on in this video, is precisely because it is animated. This is a movie that uses animation for a very particular reason and gets a very particular kind of power out of it. Now, for my discussion of Waltz with Bashir, I want to talk about two main things. The first is that this movie introduces us to two of the main themes of the course, and these themes are kind of connected to each other. So they are memory and time. We are going to come back to these ideas, these concepts, as we look at other movies. These are themes that are incredibly relevant not just to the films we are watching, but to films and television shows and stories in general. These kinds of storytelling mediums are really interested in general in how the mind works and how the mind understands past occurrences by using memory, and how the mind understands and addresses time. Now, in this movie, we have a main character who is named Fullman, and this character is actually very much based on the director. Now, this is someone who is trying to piece together his own experience. We witness him interacting with many individuals who he knew from the war. He is trying to figure out exactly what happened. He doesn't remember very much at the very beginning of the film about the Lebanon War or about the massacre at Beirut that he witnessed. The entire movie is about him trying to piece together his own experiences and his own memory. He starts basically from nowhere, and the goal is to try to have an understanding of what he did and what he witnessed in the Lebanon War. Now, as he pieces things together, he needs to figure out how to move on as a human being who may have engaged in incredibly horrible and inhuman actions. For example, about 9 minutes into the movie, Fullman, the main character, and one of his friends, a psychologist, have a conversation about memory. And hopefully you remember this scene. It's really interesting and really important. The psychologist walks through a whole explanation of how memory works. He talks about this experiment when people were shown an array of a few photographs. All of them were real except for one. The vast majority of people said that they remembered the event shown in the made-up photograph. All right, their minds seamlessly created a memory. The psychologist says that, this is a quote from the movie, "Memory is dynamic, it's alive." That is an idea that the movie is really, really interested in, and later movies that we talk about will be interested in them as well. According to the movie and to the psychologist, memory is constantly changing. If I think about something that happened to me yesterday, and I think about that exact same event a week from now or a month from now, my memories will likely be different. As we move along in life, what sticks out to us about a particular experience and about a particular event changes as well. Our minds aren't cameras. They have subjective experience built into them, and that experience can actually change how we understand things. The second thing I want to talk about with Waltz with Bashir is how the film uses animation. One of the reasons I chose this film is because of just how different it is from WALL-E and many other Disney and Pixar films that are incredibly popular and that we might be familiar with. I think that sometimes we fall into the trap of thinking that all animated movies are the same, that we can create a neat category around animated films. Now, I just don't think that is true. I think that we often like to think that animation is for children's stories or for stories that have a clear moral, but I think that animated films are a really large category where animation can be used for all kinds of purposes. So if we take Waltz with Bashir alongside WALL-E, we see that animation has a wide variety of results and emotional responses. One of the reasons that Waltz with Bashir is so powerful is because it represents one of the most horrible things: war, death, destruction in animation. If this movie were a live action film, I think it probably would have lost some of its potency. For me, there's a huge disconnect between what the story is about and how the story is told. There is something really unnerving about a war story told with beautiful animation and catchy songs. Alright, now if you guys want to think more about these topics or anything else related to the film, I really look forward to seeing your thoughts in the discussion boards and the quizzes.